All right, folks, what is happening? Happy Sunday out there, everybody. We didn't do intro music because anytime we're doing a collab with some folks, it causes issues for their side if they're restreaming, which both Chase and Matt will be restreaming. But we got a lot to talk about today for sure. I want to say hi to everybody over in the comments. Somebody was talking about have we done a collab with Julia Michaels? No, we've never done a collab with Julia Michaels. I wouldn't be against it. She is pretty base for, a lesbian. And I don't say that derogatorily. I don't know if that's a word. But anyways, folks, we got a lot going on. There's a lot happening, obviously, with the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the attempted assassination on Trump. And then immediately, all the conspiratards out there started pushing crazy narratives. We're going to talk about Google Trends and a whole bunch more, and I'm going to get Matt's take on everything. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring on Matt Tardio. Matt, thanks for joining us, buddy. How you doing? Happy Sunday, bud.
Oh, it's a great Sunday, man. It's a great Sunday. Every day I got to teach my daughter how to change a tire. It's a good day.
Hopefully those days are few and far between.
Well, yeah, you teach them once right the first time, and then you'll have to teach them again. You just say, call me if you need any help and don't kill yourself.
There you go. That's train up a child as in the way they should go. Because all kids definitely, it is crazy to me how many grown men and women do not know how to change a tire. I don't know hardly any millennials that know how to drive a stick shift, manual transmission. We are the over-reliant population. If anything hits the fan, we're doomed. And folks, Tuesday, just to kind of throw in a shameless plug, we're going to have EJ on. We're going to be talking about making sure that you're prepared. So make sure you come join us Tuesday evening. I believe that one's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But Matt, we got a lot going on. A lot of people are out there. They're armchair quarterbacking the Secret Service response. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Google Trends. We're going to talk about all these people that are already trying to exploit this, the grifters out there. They're trying to push different narratives and how ridiculous that is. Folks, we will be taking comments. I'm going to prioritize the super chats, and we'll try to get as many live chats as we possibly can. Matt, I'm gonna let you kind of open up and talk a little bit about what you want to talk about. Then we'll throw up some pictures, some videos, and different things like that we can react to, and then of course we'll look at taking some comments as well.
I'd say probably my biggest complaint about this, I was filling in for Dave Pollock last night in his space. He went live over on OAN. And we were just keeping up step by step on the updates in the space over on X last night. And before any information, came out about the shooter, conspiracy theories started flying around. And to me, one of the biggest issues that we have is people can't even wait 24 hours before they give a actual assessment of what's going on.
Yeah.
There was a lady that was in there last night. She was invited to the dinner, and I should probably go grab and pull her name to tell everybody exactly who she is, because yeah, we should be calling these people out by name, because it's getting to that point where I do believe that we have to do that. But she ended up saying, her name's Deborah Lee. She ended up saying that there was no metal detectors, pat downs, or nothing. And then, a video comes out of the officer. I don't know if he was, part of the Secret Service or, local Metro Police or whoever, that ended up getting shot in the incident last night, laying on the ground, and clear as day, there's metal detectors. And she had amassed probably around 750,000 views and probably started this whole, there was a lack of security crap going on over there, along with about a bunch of other, viewpoints that were coming out as to different conspiracies. If they were on the left, they're accusing it of being a staged attempt for Trump, like Trump staging yet another assassination attempt. If they were on the right, they're blaming transgenders, they're blaming everything else. And then if they were just all over the place, if they're one of the whack jobs from either side, they're blaming Israel, they're blaming this, they're blaming that. I mean, you name it, MK Ultra, God only knows. We'll figure it out when the time comes. And none of it is even remotely close to what happened.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Speaking of which, and let me see if this is, I'm not sure exactly. No, that's not the one, but I will share the correct screen here in just a moment. But I want to share this screen, and we'll talk about some of the things that are already being pushed. So we had hold on, let me pull that one, this one right here. All right, so let me go to this one right here. Not that one. Not that one. So many screens. All right, this one right here. Look, Sam Parker, who is just one of the biggest POS grifters on the face of the planet, as far as I'm concerned. He's been pushing every stupid conspiracy theory possible, in the Tyler Robinson case and the Charlie Kirk assassination. I said, here we go. The grifter's got a grift. It was staged. And we can see right here, Sam Parker, literally 1 hour before the alleged gunshots, a huge MAGA slop account and press secretary, Caroline Levitt, tells us there will be shots fired. Then it releases perfectly timed footage of Erica being rushed out with "Pray for Erica," sympathy tag. I'm sorry, but was this staged? Like, first and foremost, the one thing that I want to impress upon everybody, do you notice that all these people that, by the way, this is a guy that used to claim that he was MAGA before he wasn't, before like the whole Charlie Kirk assassination was the signal for everybody to do this flip. And now all these people that think the Charlie Kirk assassination is some big conspiracy, government conspiracy, Israeli conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. Now they're basically telling you, hey, Trump is the devil. Trump is a pedophile. We're going to talk more about that because that was some of the talking points that's used in the shooter's manifesto. Yep. All of these people, what they're saying is exactly what the left is saying. Do you think that's a coincidence? It's the exact same talking points through and through. That's not a coincidence, folks. You better wake up to what's going on. And I want us to remember all the conspiracy theories because I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Matt, but I believe in conspiracies. I believe that January 6th was a conspiracy. I believe that COVID was a conspiracy. I believe that, the stealing of the election in 2020 was a conspiracy. But who were all of those conspiracies created by and against? That was the deep state, the Democrats against Donald Trump. And suddenly we're like, hey, that's wrong. They did all these conspiracies, all these things against Donald Trump. They weaponized the DOJ against Donald Trump. They did all these things to stop Donald Trump and his agenda. And then we get Donald Trump in here and you guys are like, yeah, the government, now Donald Trump is also the devil. And all of these other things that are being said about him, which are being said by the same people, is like, oh no, they're right. We believe all of these conspiracies against Donald Trump now. Like, why don't you people wake up and understand what's happening here? The same enemy that we had when Donald Trump wasn't in office is the same enemy that we have now that's trying to take Donald Trump, MAGA, and our entire agenda to save this country down. Like, I don't know why this isn't so obvious. Like, what's your take on that?
Exactly what you just pointed out and what you read. I remember seeing that come out last night. I remember you asked me earlier today when we were talking if I've heard of that guy's name before. I was like, no. But as soon as you read that quote, yeah, obviously now I know who he is.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading it as one of the stupid conspiracies that came out last night. What the pattern is, what people are doing is going correlation equals causation. And they're claiming that the correlation, however loose it may be, automatically it must be a conspiracy. This must be what happens. And I honestly, at this point, I don't even want to say that these people are being honest. His name that I read off earlier, there's no way, there's not a snowball's chance in hell she didn't see those metal detectors. There's no way. If she was actually inside of there, she would have walked past, gone through them, and that was one of many. So how they get away with doing this stuff? These people need called out. They need brought down, and people need to stop engaging with it, and they need to call them out for what they are, because that is what the grift is now. The grift is not, hey, this is actually what goes on. Here's my expert opinion on it. It is, I'm an imbecile, therefore I can say whatever I want, and nobody can hold it against me. And that's the issue that I have taking place right now.
And what this is folks, is just engagement farming. They're coming up with stuff. And what happens is a couple of things. Number one, there's a large portion, like conspiracies are extremely profitable. No matter how bizarre, no matter how dumb they are, they're extremely profitable. And on top of that, there's going to be guys like me and Matt that are like posting down their comments, hey, this isn't true, or reposting. And I want you to notice, I don't like these clowns. I do not repost. What I do is I screenshot their post, and I think everybody out there should be doing the exact same thing. I screenshot their post and then I comment on it. I'm not giving this guy a repost, and we need to start being a little bit more strategic of how we go about calling these people out and making sure that we're not contributing to this, because that's what they want. That's what they're trying to do. And speaking of the biggest grift on the planet, or at least one of the biggest grifts on the planet, we're going to talk about Google Trends, because the other thing that when it comes to Baron Coleman, he was the originator of this. He got extremely well known even before he was big on, even before he was really riding the coattails of Candace Owens. And I just want to go down here to this post. We're going to talk about this. And I've talked, speaking of metal detectors, and folks, these aren't actually metal detectors. I mean, they are, but these are actually, they create a magnetic field, but this is interpreted by a computer. My friend works for a company that installs these. And not only does it detect weapons, it can tell you what type of weapon it is, and it gives it to a computer, and then where it is on the person's body. So these are not just metal detectors; they're like the third, fourth generation of magnetometers, and they can do a high flow rate of personnel. But I digress just a little bit. But I want to take you down here to Baron Coleman's post on this, and then I got a quick video I want to. And I was talking to Matt. I don't think he's aware of this whole Google Trends thing and what Baron Coleman has been doing. But Baron Coleman became famous for this. Everybody started following
I didn't know Baron Coleman was the one that started it. I've been seeing this for a while.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the Google Trends crap of, oh, this happened. And look at this tiny little spike at this point in time. Like I'm aware that has been happening. I didn't know this was the moron that started it, though.
Yep. So this is the moron that started. And Baron Coleman said, can someone get a Google Trends result for Cole Allen or Cole Thomas Allen? Which, by the way, he misspelled his name is Tomas. Exclude today, try different periods. Make sure you pick up 2023 and a few of them. Try different jurisdictions, the usual ones. I'm away from my computer. So not only is this engagement farming in a new way, but it actually gets people involved in this, and that's what they like. But I got a quick video I'm going to share with you all and share with Matt here, and then that I did on this. I've talked about this in the past, and the reason that this is complete, utter nonsense. This is a hoax through and through. Real quick, well, you know what? I play it in the video, so I'll just play that here, and we'll go from there. On Trump, what, the fourth one? All right, so we had the attempted assassination on Trump, what, the fourth one? At least the fourth one. And of course, the Google Trends detective scam is back in the news by its originator, Baron Conman Coleman. Look, I have talked about how stupid the Google Trends results and using this as an investigatory tool, how dumb it is. But we're going to reanalyze this again. And I'm going to prove to you, once again, this is complete BS. It is a con through and through, and it's just...
Are we going to watch the video or just listen to the audio?
So it's I'm screen sharing right here because it's
okay. That's actually it.
It's
okay.
Low IQ.
It was like, I don't
nonsense. See you. Anyways, Baron Coleman says, can someone get a Google Trends result for Cole Allen or Cole Thomas Allen? He misspelled this is Tomas. Exclude today, try different time periods, but make sure you pick up 2023 and a few of them, try different jurisdictions, the usual ones. I'm away from my computer, curious what's out there. And we're going to go through and we're going to use his own followers' test results to prove how stupid this is. But first and foremost, let's go to this post. I've talked about this ad nauseum. You can look all this information up yourself. You can check Google Trends' own assessment of its own data. But what I did, and I've done this before with ChatGPT, we got the exact same results. I ran a query through SuperGrok. Why is it that Google Trends why can't you replicate the results? Does it make sense to use it as some sort of, investigative tool? And here's the answer. Why Baron Coleman, Google Trends, detective scam as well, a scam. A Grok query about using Google Trends as an investigatory tool. It is sampled, non-reproducible data, not a fixed historical record. Only the gullible buy into this nonsense. It's a hustle he's using to con people. The core limitations, this is a direct quote from the query, the response to the query from SuperGrok. Core limitations that make it unsuitable for proof or even evidence. It's sampled, non-reproducible data, not a fixed historical record. Trends analyze random representative sample of searches, not every query, then normalizes results on a relative 0 to 100 scale. The exact same query, dates, and locations can, and often does, produce different graphs when rerun later because of resampling, renormalization, and minor back-end adjustments. Critics have directly tested Coleman's specific searches and reported being unable to replicate the claimed spikes. Folks, this is a fact. I've done this dozens of times. Not only that, I've literally seen Baron Coleman do this. He's refreshed his results in real time and it completely changes. And then he basically claims, oh my God, the CIA, the people, the Jews are changing the results. I just want you to think about this. So you have a compromised tool that you're using. It's compromised. It can be manipulated, or at least you're claiming that it's manipulated, unless you get the results that you want. If you get the results that you want, that indicates some sort of foreknowledge or some other nonsense, then you accept them. But when it changes, or you don't get the results that you want, you claim it's a compromised tool. So you're using a compromised tool. If they can manipulate that data, they can do it on the front end, they can do it on the back end. So if somebody wants you to believe that somebody has foreknowledge, they can basically create that data. If they want to cover up a crime and someone was Googling this stuff, and we're going to talk more about how this would not be used by any sort of state actors or really anyone that would have the basic level of sophistication that would be required to pull off some sort of assassination. And again, it goes on to say, this is still a quote, "No, it does not make sense to use Google Trends as a primary investigative tool to prove that a specific term was searched in a particular time or location and thereby link it to foreknowledge of a crime." You can go read this entire post on my profile. It's there on X. Feel free to do so. Here's the real bottom line down here. It's far more likely to mislead than to deliver proof. I want to bring you over to this other post that I have with this about this. PSA, Google Trends is sampled, non-reproducible data, not a fixed historical record. It is the three-card Monty of the internet. Grifters shuffle the numbers, declare a conspiracy, and farm clicks, views, and subs. They don't expose the truth. They poison the well, making real conspiracies sound insane to normal people. That's the entire play. Stop falling for it. But let's go back to Baron Coleman Coleman's original post, and let's go to the first one right here, Anna Escobar. Let's pull up her results. Now, she has some misspellings in here. I've removed some of the misspellings, but we will search the exact terms that she got results on. So you can see over here, Cole Allen is this one. We can see that square. We see over here the square. All right, it correlates to this one right here. And then we have Cole Allen Thomas, Thomas. I don't know why that was even searched. That's not his last name. That's not even how you spell his middle name, but that was searched. We got some results right there from 2. Now let's go over here to my search results for this. Using the exact same terms that she used, I could not reproduce those results. We see. All right, folks, notice this is Israel, the exact time frame that he dictated, April 19th to April 2024. And again, get completely different search results. April 19th to 20, there's nothing there from her original post, which was this one, Cole Allen. Let's make sure that I'm doing the same thing. I have it in quotes because that's really important, apparently. Cole Allen. All right, we would see the results in blue. And I'll even refresh it in real time so that you guys can see what's going on here. Look, same negative results. It is very possible, because I've done this in the past, I can go back and keep these same search results, and then 2 days from now, refresh it, and suddenly, during this exact same time period, using the exact same criteria for the search, we get results where there were none before. And that will change day after day after day, going back to the original statement that this is randomized sampled data, and it just doesn't make sense. Anytime that you have non-reproducible data, it's not good data, it should be tossed out, but yet they continue to use this because you can manipulate it, or you can do enough search results to where you get something that piques people's interest, to say the least. The other thing that this does that is really beneficial to Baron Coleman and part of the grift is that it gets people involved. And you can see that when we go over here back to his original post. You can see all these people. Look at it. This is engagement farming at its best. Look at this. They're all having just a great time. They're contributing to the cause. All right, but let's go down here to Pawns on X. Iran searched Cole Thomas Allen, 424 to 425 in the morning. Vestivia Hills, Alabama area searched Cole Thomas Allen, 421. Theories, someone in the FBI working with Iran to assassinate POTUS. Well, let's check this out. All right, so. All right, all right, we'll play it. On Iran, past day, April 24th, April 25th. April 24th at 11 something is going to be more than 24 hours, so we're going to take our search results. Here we are. Iran, Cole Thomas Allen. Just make sure that's exactly Cole Thomas Allen. Boom, Iran, and we're going to do the past week. We get 0 search results. 0 search results until right here where we have April 26th, 12 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We don't get those same results. Again, you can use the same search criteria. You can leave this on, you can literally leave this on your computer and just come by daily and refresh this and just watch the graphs change over the same exact period of time. It's wild. This is so stupid. In a minute, I'm going to talk about why no one would actually use this to do any sort of pre-attack surveillance or any sort of mission planning or anything else. All right, but let's actually go back and let's take a look at her Alabama results. Here we go. Alabama, last 7 days, Cole Thomas Allen, spelled correctly. April 21st, 2026 at 7 a.m. Ooh, that is nefarious. So let's just throw in Alabama. Alabama, United States, the past week, we get nothing. Nothing till here. Look at this, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right about the time it actually took place. And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, this is the big takeaway. If somebody like you or me tried to use this as a metric to prove something, right? Everything that I try to do, I try to make rock solid. If I'm coming out, I try to make it rock solid. And what these people are doing is using things that are not rock solid, that are not, it's not actual evidence, that most people that have one lick of common sense would hear or see and go, yeah, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. They are purposefully doing this.
Oh yeah.
You and me, I guarantee you, you're the same way as me. If I go to put something out, I am going to try to find the ground truth of the matter. And if it's shaky, if it doesn't make sense, then I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to mention it. They purposefully don't do that. If I say this is a theory, but you can't repeat it, that would completely and totally kill all of the engagement whatsoever. They do the same thing with every single bit of crap that they come out with. And it's not just, this one single name search here. It's been that way with a lot of it, with a lot of the different things that they're doing. And it's the same truth that holds over across, like it all holds water. Like none of it holds water, but they go and they use things that you can't repeat, that likely just end up getting, would get crapped on by anybody with half a bit of intelligence. But because they have so many stupid people that buy onto it, and if you've bought into it, I'm sorry for calling you stupid, but do some due diligence. But because they have so many of these people that want to join in on it and want to take part in it, they continue to repeat it, and then they get bought into it, and then that following just grows and grows and grows. They know exactly what they're doing, but anybody with common sense wouldn't be using this. They wouldn't be doing this. And so that's what pisses me off about it. They're knowingly misleading people and getting them bought into it. It's harder to convince people of the truth than it is a lie.
And that's the thing too, is like, just like, let's say you or I stumbled upon this, like, oh my God, like, the freaking, I don't know, Israel searched Tyler Robinson a month before Charlie Kirk was shot, right? And by the way, that's one of the things that they say.
Oh, yeah.
What you and I would do before we release that is, like, we would go like a day and try to replicate that search result, because we know that people are going to call us out, as they should hold us accountable. And when we get completely different results every single time, we would, but the thing is like, these people don't even go fact check the people that they're watching. That's what's nuts to me, is because there was one video way back when Baron Coleman laid out all these different searches, and I pulled up those exact searches. I'd used the exact same search criteria, and I got wildly different results than he did. Sometimes you'll get 0 results. The next day you'll get 5 different spikes in that time period. The next day you'll get 1 spike at a different time period. Like, it is, folks, this is not historical data. If you're using this as evidence of anything, you're a freaking idiot. And if you're buying into him when look, he knows this. I know that he knows this because he's made excuses for it. He's literally done it on his show. There's about 30, 40 more seconds of this. I want to play the rest of it, and then we're going to get Chase in here as well real quick. This is what we get. Going back to her search results, April 21st, 2026. April 21st. All right, this would be here. We got nothing. All right, but let's just back out. Of here. So using the same search criteria that was dictated by Baron Coleman, you can go through and you can look at the wide variety of search results throughout these. You cannot reproduce. These people are doing it at the exact same time and getting different results, every single, different from what we saw up there. It is wild to watch, and these people actually think this is some sort of legitimate thing. It is not. Now, Matt and I, 2 former Green Berets, and talk about our own experience of actually building target packets, conducting surveillance, open source intelligence gathering, and why this is such a stupid idea and stupid premise to begin with. All right, and we actually got 3 Green Berets here because Chase got in here. I thought he was going to be here around 6:45. Chase, thanks for showing up, buddy. Little Green Beret in the house.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Yeah, I got a little early. I told the wife I could only give you like 30, 45 minutes, so we're on the clock. You know, we're working it, but we'll make it work for that time period. So
sounds
how's everybody
good.
doing?
While I have everybody here, though, I will say I don't know what you guys saw the other day when we did the three of us, and really the like five of us. We had El Chapo as well and Chuck as well. Everybody really enjoyed that, folks. I've been talking to Chase and Matt behind the scenes. Maybe we'll make that a bi-weekly thing. Make sure you let us know in the comments if you'd like to see this kind of link up and talk about, you know, what's going on in the news, and hopefully bringing you some common sense and some truth in a sea of lies and propaganda. So both of you guys have built target packets. You guys have done mission planning, and we definitely do open source surveillance on potential targets. We do that.
Yeah.
All right. What we don't do, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we never did them on Google itself. We have different systems. We have different search engines that have built-in algorithms. And by the way, we do this on classified systems so that we can search people without the whole world potentially knowing that we're searching them. And on top of that, let's say you guys were out and about and you were searching a potential target. What is one thing that, you know, the average person that's in the business of doing assassinations, hits, mission plans, or whatever else is going to be using on their phone to obscure their information? Matt?
VPN.
You're going to have a VPN.
Bare minimum. And I'll be throwing myself in a different location. Correct.
Exactly.
Yep.
And let's
we'll have a tunnel bouncing off the moon. And I'm not even going to be the asshole that sets it up.
100%. And folks, so anybody that thinks that whether it's Israel, Mossad, I don't even know what they're saying here. If you think that these people are state sponsored intel officers and or I don't know, even rogue terrorists, because I heard like, oh no, we're not saying they're state sponsored. We're not saying these are actually Mossad. What are you saying? You're saying that somebody in the Israeli government basically conspired, I guess with the French, I guess with the U.S. military, did a bunch of searching of potential targets in the United States, and then what? Like I don't even know what that does for you, but apparently it's a thing, and it really has set the conspiracy world on fire with this, and it is so dumb. It's so dumb. If they're that sophisticated to come to the United States, an international assassination attempt, a multinational assassination that's successful, come here, pull it off, have this patsy, never be detected, and then get away clean, except for, I guess, maybe they accidentally left a 30-06 when they used 223. That's another dumb one. But the point here is if you believe this for 1,000 different reasons, it is absolutely stupid, and it is a con. It is a con through and through. And it's as low IQ as it gets. It really is.
That's just one.
Yeah.
That's just one of the stupid things that came out. That's just one of the stupid things that came out. AI photograph floating around. I'm asking people, can you find me the originating source? You know, it's bad when like Mario Knopfel will not even say this is what it was. And he could have easily put it out to blame it on the Jews. And I did an interview with him this morning. The shooter wearing an IDF sweatshirt with a little symbol on it. Where did it come from? Nobody knows. Can we find the originating source? No, we cannot. And he's like, yeah, I mean, that one was definitely appeared to be AI, and there were several others that did as well, that people are immediately blasting out, and people send that around. So, I mean, there's so many of them. So many of them, I didn't even know where to begin.
And we know from, they've already been reporting, he has a Blue Sky account. Look, this guy was a hardcore leftist. One of the things that he said was that Trump was a pedophile. Trump, a whole bunch of other things. Matter of fact, we can pull up his manifesto, and I'll get your guys' comments on this.
Oh, yeah, I was just reading over it. That's wild. And anybody that says he wasn't after Trump after reading the manifesto, they're dead wrong. This was an assassination attempt on Trump, and it's in black and white.
Couldn't agree more. Let me add this to stage. Here we go. And my screen's like 10 feet from me, so I'm going to try to. All right. Hello, everybody. So I may have given a lot of people a surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone that I trust I abused. I apologize to my parents for saying I had an interview without specifying it was for Most Wanted. Here we are just joking about this, which is really striking me as odd just right off the get-go. I apologize to my colleagues and students for saying I had personal emergency. By the time anyone reads this, I probably most certainly do need to go to the ER, but can hardly call that not a self-inflicted status. I apologize to all the people I traveled next to, all the workers who handled my luggage, and all the other non-targeted people at the hotel who I put in danger simply by being near. I apologize to everyone who was abused and or murdered before this, To all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this, to all who may still suffer after, regardless of my success or failure. Again, one of the things we notice right here is this guy has a hero complex. He has a, I don't know, freaking first person. Like it's just narcissism.
Oh, I've got a psychologist we could have brought in if we wanted to do this. Not a joke. That would love to rip this dude apart.
I play one on the weekends. I stayed at Holiday Inn, so I got this. I got this.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I mean, I've been seeing one for years, so I could just tell you the same crap that they keep telling me,
He goes on to say, I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could have seen any other way to get this close, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apologies. Onto what I did, any of this, I am a citizen of the United States of America. What my representatives do reflects on me. I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. Well, to be completely honest, I was no longer willing a long time ago, but this is the first real opportunity I had to do something about it. While I'm discussing this, I'll go over my expected rules of engagement, probably in terrible format, but I'm not military, so too bad. Administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, they are targets. Prioritize from highest ranking to lowest. Administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, they are targets. I don't really understand this. Why do you guys think that it sounds like he's
brown,
excluding Cash Patel, right?
Sounds like he's excluding Cash Patel, probably because he's brown.
I got it. All right.
I'm just throwing that out there. But when he says, I want to make it clear, when he says highest ranking to lowest, he means his priority of target starts with Trump, then to JD, then to the speaker, and working his way down.
Sure. Secret Service, they are targets only if necessary and to be incapacitated non-lethally if possible, aka I hope they're wearing body armor because center mass with shotguns messes up people who aren't. Hotel security, not targets if at all possible, aka unless they shoot at me. Capitol Police, same as hotel security. National Guard, same as hotel security. Hotel employees, not targets at all. Guests, not targets at all. In order to minimize casualties, I will also be using buckshot rather than slugs, less penetration through walls. I would still go through most everyone here to get to the targets if it were absolutely necessary on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, and traitor and thus complicit. But I really hope it doesn't come to that. So that is his manifesto as published.
Can you do me a favor, Gary? Put that last page back up there.
Absolutely. There you go.
I would love to point out the fact that this man won Teacher of the Month over in California. And he's got really, really good grammar. For example, right in the middle underneath rules of engagement where it says hotel security, not targets if at all possible, AKA unless they shoot at me. Can we discuss what AKA means and why a teacher from California that won Teacher of the Month that thinks that Trump's a pedophile can't even get that right?
Sure, man. Take it.
Yeah. Otherwise known as unless they shoot at me. IE would have been a lot more appropriate as opposed to AKA. So, or EG. So yeah. Here we have a guy that is one writing this because he knows the entire world's going to read it because he's about to do something stupid. And this is what California's Teacher of the Month produces. I just wanted to throw that out there. And
he has a master's degree.
Throwing it out there. And it's a perfect example of education doesn't equal intelligence.
Yep. Chase, your thoughts on that, especially since you can't hang out with us too long. We're gonna squeeze your brain for all it's worth.
Yeah, it's what I've been saying for a long time. Like the whole conspiracy theory thing, it's no longer a issue we have to worry about. What we have to worry about is radicalization by propaganda, and this is what the left has become really great at. And this is like they don't need to fund a bunch of money and hire assassins and do all this crazy stuff anymore. You know, the JFK days, all that's behind us. Why would they do that? They don't need to. All they need to do is pump money, push indoctrination, give money to propagandists, just like we just saw SPLC doing, all the things that we have been worried about, right? This is all what they're doing. They're indoctrinating people. They're radicalizing these people. And then they're just hoping that they're going to get somebody that's radical enough to just reach out and try to touch somebody negatively, like we've seen happen now multiple times. They've tried to kill Trump multiple times. This wasn't necessarily something orchestrated by some cabal of people. This is the plan now. And this is what they're going to continue to keep doing. They're going to keep pushing this information, this rhetoric that they've continued to push. And then you're going to get these posts by Obama. You're going to get these posts by Jeffries. And they're going to be like, We condemn violence. We don't want this to happen. But then the next post, they're going to be like, Donald Trump is a pedophile rapist and he's the worst person that's ever happened. And if he's in charge, he's going to kill everybody. And it's all terrible, right? So then they're going to continue pushing this radicalization of these people. And we're going to get these same results that we were happening now. So now you have to worry about lone wolves. You have to worry about these people that they're not raising a bunch of red flags. Now, maybe we'll find out that there were some red flags that were raised that we could have maybe known about this. But the U.S., like the government, unless you want a police state, unless you want let's lock down every single chat room, let's lock down every single group that could possibly happen and monitor all communications between everybody to make sure nothing ever happens. I don't think anybody really wants that, especially I don't think anybody on the right wants that, right? But what we do need to do is we need to start genuinely calling out the propaganda for what it is, which is what I've been doing, which is what Gary, I know you've been doing, and what Matt, I know you're doing, but calling out the propaganda for what it is and why we're doing that. And letting people know why we're doing that, because we know how dangerous it is, because we know what it has done in other countries, because we've seen it firsthand and what it brings and this is exactly what it brings. It brings people like this. It brings people like Thomas Crooks. It brings people like the Troon shooters that have happened and that have killed children just because they were indoctrinated and radicalized and then told all these things that are not true. And they were already, pre kind of disposed to, this ability to be radicalized. And now they're getting told all these things by these people that they are supposed to trust, these politicians that they're supposed to trust, and these people with big platforms that they're supposed to trust. And that's what we're actually fighting now. That's why I say this all the time. This is the new battlefield. This is it right here. It's not the battlefield, that we grew up in during GWAT. That's not really the big battlefield anymore. This right here is the big battlefield, because this is what's creating these people that are going to sprint past security and write a manifesto to go and say that, hey, you know what? You're in the room with Donald Trump. That almost makes you complicit with him. That's what he said. How many of those journalists that are in that room are also Democrats, right? How many of those journalists disagree with Donald Trump, but this dude was willing to kill them because he was in the same room as them? That's how insane these people have become because of this indoctrination. And that's a problem.
Well, and we know it's indoctrination because we hear the exact same talking points in their manifestos and other tweets and their correspondence on social media, to include Tyler Robinson. And I want us to go back to like 2016 and 2017 for a minute. What was everybody calling Donald Trump in 2016 and 2017? Does anybody remember? He was calling him a Nazi, right? A Nazi.
Oh, yeah, the Nazi.
Nazi. Yeah. It didn't work. It didn't work. So what's worse than a Nazi? How can we ratchet up this rhetoric? Pedophile. There's nothing worse than a pedophile. And that's what the woke right is saying.
Nazis were pretty bad. I mean, pedophiles touch children. Nazis kill children.
Well, the problem is there's a bunch of people out there making excuses for Nazis and saying they're not actually guilty of what, and a lot of people believe that. So it doesn't have the same it doesn't resonate the same way. There is nobody, well, there shouldn't be, unless you're Muslim, is going to justify pedophilia. Nobody does. Like, we all agree generally, like, hey, they should be put to death. If they are guilty of pedophilia, they should be put to death, period. Like, that's the way I see it. But that's what they had to escalate the rhetoric up to continue to get some sort of, because we just got used. I was called a Nazi all the time just because I believed in conservative principles. I'm sure you guys were too. White supremacist Nazi, even though like it's the last thing that I believe in. Like, I believe in actual equality regardless of skin color. So anyways, that's what they had to ratchet it up to, and that's what they're pushing. We hear it on the woke right. They're saying the same thing. The left is saying the same thing about Donald Trump. That's what they go to. They keep bringing up the Epstein files over and over, even though none of them have actually investigated the Epstein files whatsoever.
Well, it's the same people that think that, Israel ended up killing JFK when it's abundantly clear that the KGB was heavily involved in that. And I'm not saying that there might not have been additional shooters involved in it, et cetera. I think there's evidence that points towards that. But it's very, very clear that's what that leads to. And guys are just, hard set because somewhere in the JFK files, it says Israel a couple times. And they think that Israel is responsible. It's just the same stupid rhetoric. Chase, I got a question for you, brother. I got to ask you because you put the post out and we're here. So might as well just ask you your face. What was it about the security that you did not agree with? And that video is up there for a reason, because that goes into this. Yeah.
That right there.
So let's throw the video up on the screen. What portion of it did you not agree with?
I mean, like, where's a serpentine? Where's any kind of
Okay, so
barrier system?
they're breaking down the checkpoint right here, right? This is where the magnetometers are at, and they're breaking them down. And then you see this guy in the bottom left. And by the way, I'm about to prove to everybody that the suspect actually didn't shoot anybody. It was a case of fratricide, which you're about to see. So average for you guys remember Force Science Institute? You guys familiar with them? Force Science Institute, they studied all the videos from back during Iraq back in the day, and they discovered the soldiers that were operating in the yellow over on the front lines, out there patrolling the streets and stuff. Contact expected. It takes them about 3 to 4 seconds to actually recognize they're being shot at and engage. So generally speaking, for a trained person that's expecting contact, anything under about 3 seconds is a good reaction time, unfortunately, right? That's your average nug that's out there. So even as they're breaking it down, I want to point out this officer that's down here at the bottom. Now, it looks like his shirt says ELIDE. I'm not sure what that stands for. And if maybe if somebody else does, are you guys aware? So I've got this up.
Some sort of private security firm. I mean, it almost
right. So as they're breaking this down, okay, so as they're breaking all of this down, he's oriented down the hallway. So he is pulling security down the hallway, and then you have cops, which are generally speaking going to be that outer ring of security. You're not going to have all of your Secret Service set up, over there. You're going to have local law enforcement, stuff like that. They're involved in that ring of security. To paint the picture, you had the hotel, which wasn't bought out, which we can have a discussion about that later, because I think it likely has to do with the government shutdown, but it might not. There was another event that was going on in the hotel that evening. And so, once they have their secure perimeter, everything inside that perimeter has to 100% be secure. So the further out you push your perimeter, the more doors that have to be blocked, the more people that have to be around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And right now, Secret Service is not being funded. So I bring this up because right now the video is set at 0. Suspect emerges around the corner and he's clearly at a full run. It looks like he just turned to 90 and he's coming towards, and the timer down at the bottom is at 0. And he's clearly at a dead sprint. He was armed with a shotgun. He's armed with a pistol, and he's got 2 knives on him as he's sprinting towards. You guys can see he's about halfway down. We are 1 second into this video. The security officer that was pulling security down the hallway notices him at 1 second. You see him take it in. And by 2 seconds, he's already got his pistol out of the holster. So at 2 seconds in, he's got his pistol out of the holster of this guy emerging from around the corner. I think that's pretty dang good. I don't think that's bad at all that he's already got his gun out. That means he's gone through the OODA loop, observe-oriented. He's decided, and now he's about to act. So within 2 seconds, he's broken through his OODA loop. As it comes, he's now got his pistol out, and we're still at the 2 second mark, probably pushing closer to 3. Right as it crosses from 2 to 3 seconds, you're going to watch this guy over here. This officer standing in the middle is actually what ends up getting shot. You're going to see him go sprinting past, pistol fires, boom. And then you see this guy fall down. He missed him. My big issue with it happens to be this guy right here, which we can talk about in a second because of where he's carrying, and he's got a problem getting his pistol out. That to me is a pretty big failure as they get into it. And obviously shots and stuff, go and they get the guy apprehended. But you see him standing there. He's not paying attention, even though this guy's got his gun out. And the reason I'm saying he's switched on is because he sees this guy reacting, going to pull his pistol, and he's still leaning on this thing as if it's nothing. And this goes down into humans and how long it takes them to actually observe and decide about what's going on. Now, the crazy part about it is the suspect, now you see him realizing what's going on and he ducks, even though the suspect's right there and he's about to run in front of him. This guy right here, this one, if he's a Secret Service agent, absolutely should have tackled the shit out of that guy, but he didn't do it. Instead, he goes to draw his pistol, even though the suspect's right in front. So now he's stuck and he's in the zone as this guy is going down. Instead of tackling him, instead of changing his course of action, he's now freaked the hell out because the gunshot went off. And he's not even carrying, at the freaking 3 o'clock. He's got that sucker set at 5 to 6 as he goes to pull it out. And he's got trouble getting it out. And there's a great video about a church shooting down in Texas where somebody lost their life because they were carrying it the 5 to 6 o'clock. And yet we still have people that are doing that. So this guy, in my opinion, absolutely would need more training. I have no idea who this guy is. To me, it looks like the guy that couldn't hack it, that they put in charge of the magnetometers to make sure they get packed up and brought back to their warehouse. He struggles to get his gun out and finally does. And for some ungodly reason takes a knee. And you'll see that other officer is now on the ground in the background. Hey, and this whole thing is over in about 5 seconds.
Can you go back a little bit to where he's still got his hand on that right there? So go forward another second, maybe 2 seconds. Keep going. All right. So stop right there. Maybe go back just a little bit. Right there. All right. So right there, just as you said, I think you said he was switched on, but I think you meant he's not.
He's not. He's in tunnel vision. He was switched on in the security identifying the threat mode. Obviously, there's fratricide. He didn't clear his background.
Sure. I'm talking about the guy in the suit and tie. So right here, I mean,
that guy's not switched on at all.
If I was staring at Matt and suddenly I see him go for his gun, right there, this guy should be reorienting his
1,000%.
Where?
What are you pointing your gun at?
And the fact that he ever do that.
Real quick.
Yeah,
and that's why I said
there's people that are freaked out because of the CapCut AI. So CapCut is just a software that cuts like clips out of a longer video. So all you people in there are like, this is AI video. Like this is not an AI generated video. This is just CapCut just cuts the video out. So that's what you're seeing there.
It's a program you can download to screen grab videos. That's what it is.
It's video editing software that they can take and they can cut it down to whatever length. You can take it, you can zoom in, you can put it at different things, things of that nature. But this is the video that's just cut. Yeah. So I can go back and pull the videos that were originally released. You guys are going to see the exact same thing. You're right. And that's why I said there's different one. Like this guy leaning, I'm pretty sure this is probably the guy they put in charge of holding on to, the freaking metal detector crap and making sure it gets to where it's supposed to go.
He's holding that case down, making sure it doesn't go anywhere. Also, just fast forward it to the point where it's right in front of him or where he starts to go for his. So right there, I still don't even think that he has
no idea what's going on.
Yeah, he hasn't really seen this guy whatsoever. He heard a gunshot. Now he's instinctively going for his pistol. He has no awareness whatsoever of what's this person is in front of him or anything else. Like he is lost in the sauce. So anyways, the point is like, if you're going to criticize, and one of the things that you and I were talking about earlier, Matt, is we can go through, you and I could sit there and have a complete video breakdown. I don't care if it's SEAL Team 6, if it's CAG, if it's SF, whatever else. And you could have pretty much a flawless takedown of a target, right? Clearing an objective, reducing threats within the objective, whatever's going on. And look, you are always going to find things that could have been done better. Sure. That are worth critiquing. And I'm sure there's a lot because like these guys don't get every venue they go to is different. The crowd, like it's a dynamic environment that's going to be changing constantly. So there are going to be mistakes that are made without a doubt. But I think people that don't come from our background can sit back there and armchair quarterback and have never been in those situations. I mean, anytime that you can take down the threat, you can mitigate risk to people that are in the environment, non-targets, non-threats. At the end of the day, you got to say, hey, you know what? They did a pretty good job. Is there lessons learned? Are they going to do a very detailed after-action review? Hopefully. And they can find the areas that they need to strengthen, right? The training gaps they have, because I'm sure there's lots of them. Because if all of you are out there advocating that law enforcement, Secret Service, and everybody else should have additional resources and training, I'm all about it.
I agree.
There's nobody.
It's freaking horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I can complain about it all day long from my time in law enforcement. It's absolutely horrible.
I mean, I look at this, and even though they're taking down the metal detectors, all that stuff, that's fine. You don't need those after you've got in everybody that's coming in for the event, right? But they could have still left up, right? You still could have threats, right? They could have left up. They could have put some barriers. It looks like they didn't have barriers. They didn't have serpentines. They didn't have any kind of things that I would want up in a security situation to just slow the progression of any advancing threats. So that's kind of what I'm talking about from a planning perspective, and then from a choke point perspective, is that was not done. Because just imagine if this guy would have been just a little bit crazier and had, I don't know, got some HME and had a vest on or something with a dead man switch.
Sure, but he could have exactly. But in that case, he could have walked right through the serpentine, waited till he got up there, and then blew himself up and taken out the entire security checkpoint, and then sent in Leroy Jenkins to run through with a AR right behind him. I mean, we could play the what if game all day long, but the fact is that the threat was mitigated.
Well, and the other thing too is we don't know the actual layout of that facility. Clearly, it was compartmentalized. Clearly, the threat didn't actually get to the objective. right? Which was Donald Trump, or at least within the ballroom itself. So, I mean, I don't know what else was in place there from a security standpoint. I don't know that anyone does. I don't know where else he had to go. Clearly, he didn't get that far, even being shot at and missed. And, so sounds like, again, overall, it was a pretty successful takedown. And obviously, the president was secured. None of the protectees were really in danger at any point. But we're going to get more information as we go along for sure.
To me, as I look at it, this is clearly like their outermost perimeter that they have, at least as far as armed security inside of the hotel. They have local law enforcement, security guard, and then a random guy, like I said, that's probably in charge of the metal detectors for the Secret Service that walked up to say hi right before it all happened, throwing his hand on it. And he clearly sucks at life, which is why he's in the position he's in. And the security guard fired the shot that luckily struck the other officer, in his Kevlar. And thank God that guy, whoever the guy is in the bottom left, was actually switched on, because it looked like it freaked the idiot out enough, the suspect had enough to actually cause him to dive and go down. But you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers hanging out there, plus, our Secret Service hero. So that's a lot of guys, to have sitting right there, but they're all leaning on the wall. They're lazy. This goes back into, in my opinion, it goes, hiring practice. You're talking about Washington, DC Police Department. I can complain about the hiring practices. I can complain about the training aspects. I could look at the guy on the far right as far as law enforcement officers go. He looks a little bit freaking heavier set. Then you've got likely this being an extra duty event to where they're getting paid overtime to show up and go there. And so it's guys that wanted to just make money and make a quick buck, hanging out, running security, standing around with their guns and everything else. And then you got young security guard that, is applying to be a police officer that's just itching to shoot anybody who is standing there completely and totally switched on.
And look, and complacency is always a factor in this, right? These guys have probably done 100 hundreds of venues where nothing has happened. It happens. The other big
here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, though, right? So I was talking with Nate Vance about this, literally right before the show, and he said he was writing up a post on it. And you average it out, we now have 4 assassinations or assassination attempts that have taken place during this presidency, if you include Charlie Kirk. 2 on Donald Trump plus Charlie Kirk, who is very close to Trump, and now this one right here. And you average that out over, time, and you're looking at about 1 every 4 months.
Well, it's actually 4 assassinations.
That's what I said. 4.
No, I'm without Charlie Kirk.
Oh, really?
Yes, because
which was the other
one? The Iranian.
Oh, yeah.
So we now have 4 assassination plots. We'll say that's accurate. The other thing I want to point out that's really important, and this is something we cover in training with all our civilians, especially, but military and law enforcement that we train as well. Folks, you got to clear your target. All right. And what happens is people get so fixated, they get target fixated, and they don't ever scan their background. As a civilian shooter, as a defensive shooter, you're responsible for not only what your target is, but beyond your target as well. And this is one of the things that we do in our training every single time, and people fail it every single time the first time going through, because we don't warn them about it. We give them all the time, you got to know what your target is and what's beyond it. You got to have, we always talk about clear target cover being primary, clear target moving, clear target static, worst case scenario. And I don't want to get into all that. But the point here is this is something that people don't practice. They make sure their target's clear. They put no shoots in front of their target. They never put no shoot targets beyond their target in line with the shooting position, because sometimes you got to move to another shooting position to get a clear shot. And this is something people don't train for. They never train for it in law enforcement. I didn't really get it covered. I don't remember really people talking about this when I was in the military and in special operations, to be honest with you. But especially as defensive shooters, you got to know what your target is and what's beyond it. You got to get a clear target. This guy should have waited. If he was going to shoot this guy, he should have been knowing, very situational aware of his buddies behind the target, and then make sure that he was actually crossing a pathway that was clear behind him before he pulled the trigger.
Or reorient your body. Or take a step to the right would have, if he had taken 1 or 2 big steps and just gotten his way, it would have solved that whole problem.
100%.
But I mean, think of the level of training like that dude has, and even those police officers. I mean, how many rounds through their pistols do they put down range every year, right?
Do you want to know my opinion? Not many.
Yeah. No. I know it's not very many.
I'll tell you, the state qualification, because I went through, I got post certified in Colorado. And the firearms qualification for that sucks. It was a joke, absolute joke. And then your annual qual, at least in Colorado, your agency gets to make up what it is, or maybe not your annual. You might do it, quarterly, right? Your qual. Your agency is literally making up what your qual is. I showed up one day because I missed, my shift's time to go out, but I was shocked because it was literally, it was like a mag dump to the chest, a mag change, and then one to the head at 7 yards. That was knocked it out in seconds, and it's just like, this can't seriously be what we're doing from a static position to say we are qualified. It's absolutely horrible.
And honestly, even the guy that pulled his gun and got a round off, his probably best course of action was to go physical with this guy. And that's another thing that we don't talk about enough in law enforcement. And people were losing their minds because Kash Patel actually created new training programs where they were actually doing defensive tactics. So they're actually doing, mixed martial arts. They're doing jujitsu. That has to be a part of this training, because if the only tool you have is a gun, then every solution to a problem is a gun. And probably the best course of action right there, even with the guy that got a round off, is he probably should have just tackled this guy. He probably should have just tackled that guy.
Correct. And that's something that I learned the hard way. Hands are faster than knife. Knife is faster than gun. Gun, generally speaking, is last resort that you can always skip to first go around. Yeah. But we never train that. Law enforcement does. In law enforcement, you get lots of hands-on training. But you're also, told to pull your gun first, because you don't know what's going to end up happening second. And when people get in those situations, they've never been in them before, they freak out, and that's automatically where their hand goes, whether or not they've been through training. And it's something that you cannot, I think that my biggest complaint, you cannot replicate real world experience being in situations like that. No. Stress inoculation training, as far as law enforcement is concerned, and even as close as you can get, firing live rounds at somebody as they're maneuvering, you still know that the person shooting at you in that training environment isn't attempting to hit you.
Or force on. You're talking about, I want to make sure people, you said firing live rounds. You're talking about force on force training.
Yeah, no. Well, like when I joined the infantry, no, hell no. Like when I joined the infantry, you had a low crawl machine gun fire. Yeah, they're not trying to hit you. Yeah. I mean, that's about as close as you're going to get. They've got grazing fire. You've got a machine gun that's supposed to be shooting, 1 meter off the ground. Something for grazing fire, but really they shoot 10 feet over your head. So if you stand up, you don't get hit. But still, that's about as close as you can get. And people do freak out underneath it, but you still know the average person that's on the ground understands they're not trying to kill me. All I got to do is crawl, and this sucks. Force on force training, sim rounds. Sim rounds aren't going to take your life. And you see people that take risks that normally they wouldn't take.
Sure.
You start slinging sim rounds at a door, people are like, yeah, maybe I can edge that off. I'll go around. You start throwing 7.62 through it. It's a different story. They're mindful.
Conversely on that, it's funny how people do react to some rounds too. It's like they, like knowing that they're going to feel pain and potentially get hit. They freak out. It's a different level of stress, and it is one of the ways to progressively train. Right. That is one of the training progressions that people should go through without a doubt, because it does help you see what is possible and what's not. Because people do have some misconceptions in their head of what cover is and what it isn't, and how much they can expose themselves or how much they are being exposed, but
it still doesn't replicate, and that's the point I'm trying to make is even if you've been through the fire numerous times, like I've fallen guilty of it before too, where just something happens and you get like, whoa, because there's just crap that happens. Nobody really knows how they're going to react to it. And that's why I'm always, in the real world situations, doing my absolute best to be like, all right, yes, this is stupid. Yes, we can do better, but essentially doing an AAR of it and being like, yes, this guy, he needs help. Like the guy in the suit with the funny hat leaning on the metal detector, he needs help. Other guy, he needs to breathe a little bit better, make sure his shot's clear, or learn that he can take a step to the right. But analyzing it, how much time it took him to actually get his hand on his weapon and actually clear leather, can't complain about that. I can complain about the shots, but even then, that security guard might be somebody that shows up to a 3-gun comp and dominates it every single time, and I'm assuming he's a security guard. He might show up to that comp and dominate it every single time. But the moment you do an adrenaline dump, not so much. It's a different story. You go to your tunnel vision. Sometimes you don't see your sights, and maybe that's the first time you actually pulled his trigger on somebody, So it's hard for me to sit there and say, no, this is because of a lack of training. That guy might've been like better trained in firearms than the Secret Service agent standing across from him.
Very could have.
Just throwing that out there.
I do want to show you guys this. Apparently the shooter, Cole Allen, it was cold force on Blue Sky. Best time to buy a gun was greater than or equal to your state's waiting period days ago. Second best time is today. The Trump DOJ is looking at ways to ban transgender Americans from owning guns, source says. This is September 4th, 2025. Another post that he had on Blue Sky, would delete everything after himself, as in S directly after support. Hi, no thanks. Every single one of these effing charlatans would support the Antichrist himself if he spouted enough anti-immigrant and anti-trans shit as he rode through town. So again, we're seeing a trend toward trans ideology, protecting trans people, all the tropes the left has been using for a long time that ultimately got Charlie Kirk killed, by the way. Here we got another post. He's proud that we don't uphold our commitments. What a piece of shit. JD Vance, stop funding for Ukraine is one of the things I'm proudest that we've done as an administration. It's a very good thing. And then lastly, we have right here, why if this moron converts to Catholicism if he wanted to protest this much? JD Vance responds to Pope Leo, when the Pope says that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, there is more than 1,000-year tradition of just war theory. In the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very important that the Pope be careful when he talks about matters of theology. And there you go. Basically, he's talking about the fact that if the Pope is saying, and I don't remember this, but if the Pope is saying that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword, then clearly the Pope doesn't know the first thing about the Bible. I mean, that is like, you can go through, God commanded the Israelites to just wipe people out left and right, and rightfully so. And because they didn't, a lot of the problems that we're seeing today is because they didn't actually follow through on that. But we don't need to get into that either.
Is it the Amalekites? Anybody?
Amalekites, Canaanites, you name it.
Yeah. It's actually crazy how much progressive leftists sound like the halal right.
Yeah.
The exact,
well, it's the same.
Literally the exact same people.
I was gonna say, did you see the comparison that went down recently?
No, maybe. Did I?
Somebody,
tell me.
Very good comparison. I'll have to go look it up. Somebody did a very good comparison, and it's the exact same message that's coming out of both of them. If you take Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, and then compare it to like your far left, literally the same message. Damn near same message, verbiage that's coming out from all of them.
I've been saying it for months and months and months, and I get called all the names for it, and just like today, what's his name? Who's this idiot? Hold on. This dude. He's a 3-gun shooter dude. Hold on.
While you're looking that up, did you see they identified the guy with the MP7?
That's not a friend.
That's all that really matters.
Say that again.
While he's looking that up, did you guys see that they identified the guy that was running around with the MP7?
No.
I don't know if you saw this. This is really important. Come to find out, it was Baron Trump himself.
So it turns out
there was a Secret Service agent. I'm assuming he's a Secret Service. Yeah. He could have been somebody else. There could have been agency guys there, or other departments there. It could be CAG, could be anybody. But the point here is we got a guy rocking an MP7, which was pretty dope to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garand Thumb, you know that guy?
Oh, Garand Thumb. Oh, that guy, the Air Force combat. What do you call him?
And now he's a 3-gun shooter, and that's like all he does.
Well, he shoots really fast, and it's all cool and all, but again,
yeah, no, you're putting so many rounds of paper, bro. That's so cool. Like, it's the coolest stuff I've ever seen.
Let me, as someone that followed Garand Thumb for a really long time, it's really sad to see him and so many others, because he did a lot and continued to do a lot for the 2A community. That being said, man, I don't know why these guys are so quick to be captured by the halal right, the woke right, whatever you want to call it. Whether we're talking about him, JP Sears, or so many others, Sean Ryan, all the vet bros.
He's the worst right now. God, man.
Like, these people have just gone. I mean,
these are the guys I'm about to start. Once a day, I'm telling you, over on my X account, I'm releasing a 5-minute video just trashing on these pieces of garbage. And I'm getting over it.
Dale Stark blocked me yesterday.
What's that?
Who did?
Dale Stark.
Why? Why did Dale block you? Dale's normally pretty
because he was calling out he was like, when you argue with your left leaning friends about them falling for propaganda, and I was like, bro, you fell for this same propaganda. You fell for the same stuff just from the whole alt-right people.
Which one
And
did Dale fall for? Really?
Yeah, he's the same. He fell for the Joe Kent, all the stuff, dude.
Really?
He won't go.
That,
yeah,
man.
Sean Ryan made him, so like he went on Sean Ryan's show, and that's what blew his account up. And so now he won't say a bad thing about Sean Ryan. And so when I called out Sean Ryan, he got mad about that and he unfollowed me. And so I was like, okay, that's cool, dude. And
that's ridiculous.
So
like I can disagree with you over the security situation. I don't have to block you. I can talk to you about it and be like, hey, here's my point. This is what I think.
Yeah.
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 I don't have to block you over it.
Me and you have disagreed before, and we're probably going to disagree again. It's fine. It happens.
It's called human nature. That's sad, man. That's really sad.
Yeah.
And if I think you ever grift, or if you think I start to grift, tell me I'm grifting so I can correct course of action or maybe take a second look. Like it's not going to bother me as a man.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with you guys.
I mean,
it's so many. What's crazy to me is it's like all these GWAT guys, like that were over there. That they know what they know what we were fighting, right? And then now all of a sudden, you like fell for the dumbest propaganda ever that is being pushed by like the Muslims that were over there that we were fighting in the first place, and all of a sudden you're like what? Like it just doesn't. It makes no sense to me that you don't even understand. One, they don't understand how like our government works. Like this APAC stuff. Like if APAC was a problem, I would be calling it out because this is literally what I do is I call out problems like funding issues, like people taking advantage of our government, like all the things, right? This is why I call out Qatar for putting a bunch of money into our university system, $6 billion over the last, 8 years or something crazy like that. This is why I call out China, lobbying more than anybody else, Saudi Arabia, putting a lot of money into our systems. Those things are very bad for us. Israel doesn't even make the top 10 on its own. Even when you add in APAC, still not even in the top 10. APAC on its own is not even in the top 100. So like, what are we really talking about? So yeah. So like
something like that.
How are they running things if they're not even in the top 10 of money?
Going back to your original question, how do these GWAT guys fall into it? And I think us GWAT veterans are probably more susceptible to some of this because we are traumatized by the war. Look, I think all three of us would agree. Like, I do believe that we went to Iraq under false pretense. I do agree that it was intentionally prolonged for money. Defense contractors, like we were there. We saw.
Ask Oshkosh. Ask the replacement of the Humvees that were, getting a tire blown out, and they just scrapped the whole vehicle and threw in a new one.
And look how every time that we were over there, how much our hands were tied. Where we could have taken down 10 times as many targets. We could have been 10 times more effective. This war was intentional. Whether we're talking about Iraq or Afghanistan, it was intentionally prolonged because a lot of people were making money. That being said, Donald Trump is a completely different president. You can't sit there and say that all these conspiracies are taking place against Donald Trump while Donald Trump is his first term or he's out of office during Biden's term, and then jump in when you elect Donald Trump. Now he's in charge of all the conspiracies that are damaging America. Like, it is absolutely insane. It's the same exact people. And just, we were talking about this whole thing before you jumped on here, Chase, is that like the same exact conspiracies against Donald Trump are what basically people are saying that he is doing. And it's the conspiracies against him, that he's tied with Israel, that he is being controlled by Israel, that he's involved in the Charlie Kirk conspiracy, assassination. Like, these are the same people generating these conspiracies that were generating the conspiracies against Donald Trump and against the American people. Everyone that's behind COVID, China, Russia, Israel, Iran, whether we're talking about the COVID vaccine, whether we're talking about January 6th, whether we're talking about stealing the elections, like all of these, those people are the ones that are, all they've done is done a slightly different tactic. Now, instead of using mainstream media and the government itself, now they're just using social media people. That's it. That's all they changed. Same exact narratives. Israel versus Russia. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
All right.
Well,
so I got it.
Here, you go ahead real quick.
I don't
go, and then I'll go real quick, and I got to jump off.
All right.
Okay. Well, then you go, because I need to clarify something after you go. So you go.
Okay. All right. So yeah, just to I agree with that 100%. This whole, they needed the Israel and strategic alliance is very powerful. And so that is a threat to Russia and to China. So you're seeing propaganda, and then to Iran, which is also a proxy of Russia and China. So you're seeing the propaganda push from them because those are our main enemies, and they know the power that the U.S. and Israeli alliance has. So that's one of the reasons you're seeing that push. The second reason you're seeing it is because people just don't understand that the Jewish diaspora in the United States is the biggest Jewish diaspora that there is, other than in Israel, right? So of course you're going to have a lot of support for that, one, from the Jewish community, and two, because the evangelical Christian vote, which is all the right in the United States, the Republican vote is highly evangelical, and the evangelical vote is for Israel. It supports Israel. So they wanted to attack that. So that's the center of gravity for the Republican Party as it exists today. So when you look at it from the strategic perspective, right? And when you're looking at it from a whole of government, how are you going to attack this? We have to defeat the right because the left's already captured. So if you're a nation state, you're an enemy nation state, how do you defeat America, right? You already have the left, but the right is very powerful, and they're not going to allow this to be defeated. You have to divide them. And so to divide them, what do? You find the center of gravity that really unites all, or kind of is the main thing that puts the right kind of together, is Israel, right? So now you create enough propaganda, you capture enough of the people on the right that were either once on the right or were just like, they joined the right because that was the ticket for them to make it. And then you capture them, and then they push this messaging. Again, like you said, it was Russia, 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 all this. Now it's Israel, 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 all this. And they're pushing this messaging nonstop. And once you hear something repeated over and over and over again, it just becomes something that you feel like is real. And most people don't understand that. And so now we're seeing this view from people on the right that just don't know, like they don't understand that strategic alliance between U.S. and Israel is very strong. It's very beneficial to both the U.S. and to Israel, but more so to the U.S. They are our proxy in the Middle East. They're the reason why. Before the Iran war, we didn't need aircraft carriers to go into that area because we had Israel to help us. And then just to go back to GWAT real quick, you hear my kids yelling, it's a whole mess down there. We got to get going. But to go back to Israel, they didn't want us to go back. They didn't want us to go into Iraq. They had little to no interest in Afghanistan from any other perspective other than they just wanted to have their human networks monitoring Afghanistan. So that Afghanistan was nothing really for them to have any perspective in. And they didn't want us to go into Iraq. They wanted us to go into Iran in 2002. So that was clear cut right there from the beginning. So that was not a war. So that whole talking point that they put forward, that they're like, GWAT, all the wars, the Iraq, the Afghanistan, that was for Israel too. That's just more nonsense that they're pushing to make you think that Trump's in the same league when he's not. This has been a 40-something day war now, and we're almost complete with it. And this is a completely different president who stands against all the other things that the previous presidencies stood for. And I'm proud that he does stand against all of those things, because again, I'm with you, Gary. I'm against the way Iraq was done. I'm against the way Afghanistan was protracted when SF and the Northern Alliance had the Taliban almost all the way kicked out before Operation Anaconda. And we took Kabul in 37 days, and Afghanistan, like the whole war was almost done, but we did it too efficiently and too quickly, and they didn't make enough money off of it, right? And they were protracting that war to get ready to go to Iraq. And so all of those things are problems, but they weren't because of Israel. They were because of the way that our systems were set up and our industrial military complex was set up, and the way the people that we had in charge at that time. And that's changed now. Not entirely. We're still fighting that system, but now those people are fighting back, and that's who we're fighting against. So it's really important for everybody to understand that all of the stuff you're hearing about vilifying Israel is the same stuff that you were hearing before. You know, it's just repackaged propaganda to vilify somebody or a country or a group of people, right? And it all comes back to, if you want to go look it up, the Protocols of Elders of Zion. It was created in 1903 by a Russian propagandist, a Tsarist Russian, who used it to start the first pogrom against the Jews. That kind of set all this in motion. It's what Hitler used to turn Germany against the Jewish people, even though Germany had a very small Jewish population. They're using it in America now to divide the right. So it's very important to understand what all this stuff is and how real it is and how dangerous it actually can be, because this is the new fight again. And so I just wanted to get that out real quick. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and love you guys.
Yep.
And glad I could come on for a few minutes and talk a little bit. But keep doing what you guys are doing. You're doing awesome. And thanks everybody for watching, and share, subscribe, all the stuffs.
Yeah, man. Hey, dude, if you block me tomorrow after this conversation, like it's over. Like the gloves are coming off.
You know what? I almost.
I'm letting everybody know you're really 5'3". Like I'm coming out with it.
I almost hit the block button because you were like, Chase, we're going to talk about this, and I was like, oh. No, and the more that I see about
I'm so offended you don't.
I actually was a little bit wrong on that. They did a little bit better than I thought. I actually thought that he made it into the whole room, so I might have to retract on that a little bit. I might have to do another post on top and be like, hey, they actually did a little bit better than I initially thought. And that's because, again, I'm not always right. I make mistakes. Shit happens, and that's the way it works. So I appreciate the calling me out on it, and I still don't like that the setup made it where a dude could just run right through like that. But
I think you're right. I think it could have been better. You're right. They could have
been better. It can always be better.
Yep.
Right. Tell the Democrats to fucking fund them.
No, I agree. And a lot of that could be other problems because of those kind of reasons that you just said. So yeah. But again, guys, thank y'all so much. Appreciate it. Gary, thanks, again, I'll come on anytime I can. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Yeah, and just kind of to talk a little bit more about what Chase was talking about. That is one of the elements of this, folks, that China and Russia and definitely Iran do not want us to have an alliance with Israel, period. It is a huge strategic stop to both of those, all three of them. And the other thing, can you imagine, folks, the reason that China and Russia would be so heavily invested in us not being successful in Iran, and obviously Iran being heavily invested as well, is, could you imagine if we had another ally in the Middle East and it was a friendly ally like Iran, as opposed to Iran being strategically aligned with Russia and China? Do you not understand the importance to Russia and China of Iran being in their back pocket as opposed to being friendly with us? Like Iran, China and Russia would have, like, they could not, they would be 1/10 the threat. We'll just put it that way. If we had, I don't know, like good friendship, diplomatic and military ties with Iran, especially if we had any sort of military bases or a military footprint in Iran, they do not want that to happen. And they will do
it would cut off China's funding. So here's the big threat to them is BRICS.
Yep.
It's a big threat is to BRICS. The strategic partnership between Russia and Iran was supposed to develop a currency that was sanction proof. And they were working on the banking system, whether it be cryptocurrency, et cetera. This is why China is amassing gold and silver. This is why Russia is doing the same. This is why India is doing the same. Involved. Correct. Venezuela was a huge portion of it. There was a lot of money. Well, you had money you had Chinese yuan, whatever, that was being given to Maduro from China. It was being printed off, and China was printing off a buttload of money. And this is why China is also pissed off right now, and China is actually getting involved. You had a buttload of the yen that was being printed off and given to Maduro, and Maduro is paying back China with oil, like really, really cheap oil. So they were sending all of that cheap oil back, and the people that were running the oil was the IRGC on their shadow fleet. That was a huge problem. China is then giving a cut to Iran, and that is funding their ballistic missile program, and that is funding the foreign terrorist organizations around the Middle East. So all of those things are really big problems. But the biggest issue that I saw and that I currently see, you look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was offered a membership into BRICS, which they haven't formally turned down since the last time I checked. If that cryptocurrency ends up going through, the sanction-proof currency between Iran and Russia, if that currency ends up going through, and you have all of the BRICS nations, it's not just Brazil, Russia, India, and China. You've got a lot of them. If they end up start trading oil on that new BRICS currency, if you see Egypt say, if you're going to use the Suez Canal, you're going to be paying us in this BRICS currency. If you start seeing things like that, all of the sudden the petrodollar does start taking a hit. So Sean Ryan was quasi right. Where Sean Ryan got wrong in his post the other day is saying that where we're at right now, the petrodollar is in danger of collapsing. That's not true. Do you think that Iran was selling 90% of its oil to China using the US dollar? If you think that, you are what I call a retard, right? Like that is where the big problem comes in. China was actually able to source more of its oil. So they get 40% of their oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. But they made up 30% of the lost 40% via, I want to say it was, I can't remember. I think it was Brazil and India was the two countries that they ended up making it up from. So they only lost about 10% of their actual oil coming in, but it still shut down a lot of their refineries over inside of the country. Like 70% of their teapot refineries ended up getting shut down. They just can't use them right now. That puts a huge strain on Russia. That causes a big issue over inside of Mother Russia as well when it goes towards a war effort. And also that's an increase of commodities and commodity costs that end up going towards them. So all of these things are like huge geopolitical impact. And in my opinion, right, like Iran is another operation, and you have like an overall strategic goal that's not necessarily that Iran, it is getting rid of the Belt and Road Initiative. It's destroying the allegiance in between Russia and Iran, and it's also destroying the allegiance between Iran and China. And all of those things are integral into going after and trying to an attempt to collapse the U.S. dollar. What Sean Ryan said the other day about the oil crisis, right, read it off. It's factually incorrect.
In multiple spots, and I also posted about this. The petrodollar is the foundation of American power. Since the 1970s, oil has been sold in dollars, forcing every nation on earth to hold dollars, fund our debt, and keep us dominant. Iran just systematically dismantled that. No, they didn't. They closed Hormuz, cutting 25% of global oil supply, spiked oil to $18 a barrel, then forced ships to pay in Chinese yuan for passage. Now Gulf states are dumping U.S. treasuries. Bond markets are selling off. Inflation is surging. Oh, my God, the sky is falling. Deutsche Bank is warning of a petro-yuan era. Every link in the petrodollar chain is snapping at once. When it's gone, your borrowing costs explode, your savings erode, and America loses the financial weapon that has kept us dominant for 50 years. China wins without even pulling the trigger. So first of all, Sean Ryan did not write that post. I can tell you that right now. I don't know who wrote that for him, but he didn't write that post. And the other thing here, not only is this doomerism at its worst and the sky is falling, and everything in here just about is factually incorrect. The other thing that I posted the day that he posted this, crude oil price was $93.94, so $94 a barrel. It wasn't 118. It wasn't. It was 118. That was the highest that the crude had gotten at the beginning of this war, and was there for a very short amount of time. So that was like at the beginning of March or middle of March. So for him to be saying that crude oil has spiked to 118 at the end of April, number one, that's not relevant, and number two, that is just it's just propaganda, man. It's just doomerism, black pill, want to scare everybody into not supporting Trump, into supporting the end of this war, which Iran would love, China would love, and Russia would love.
Here's the other thing too. If you were to take the average price per gallon here in the United States of America and compare it to 2012 underneath Obama, the adjusted for inflation costs from 2012 would be well over $5 a gallon of gas here in the United States. And we're not even reaching that with the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. And nobody was talking about the petrodollar collapsing back then. Nobody was talking about any of that. So that within itself, like face value, you take a look at it, it's a bit of a problem. And so what you're seeing is a directed narrative, and that directed narrative is that the oil portion is another piece, in my opinion, of like CCP, Russian, Iranian propaganda, designed to try to take that pressure off, because every single day the Strait is shut down, is a day that China ends up getting the squeeze put on them. They printed off so much yuan over the last year, and people, by all means, go look this up. It was worse than anything the United States has ever done. Like they printed off so much that it is an unstable currency. To think that we would all of a sudden switch, and this is true because you've got Iran demanding that any of those ships that end up sailing through their corridor to get through so that Iran doesn't attack them, they're not trying to pay it in the real. No, they're trying to pay it in Chinese currency. They're trying to stabilize it. They're trying to get back because the Chinese economy is hurting that bad. Yeah. So I just want to throw all those things out there.
One of the things I just threw up there was the highest price of gas under Biden, which I didn't see Sean Ryan talking about back then, was $5.11 a gallon. When we look at the highest price of crude oil under Biden, it was WTI crude, $130 per barrel. And that's why we were capitulating to Iran and doing everything we can and sending them, billions of dollars. That was under Biden, but we were giving them lots of money through alleviating sanctions. So I don't know what the point of all this is.
Well, it's misinformation. It's misleading. It's misleading information that's being blasted on the internet. Just like, how many people have thrown out there that Trump is a convicted, rapist?
Yeah.
That you've heard.
Yep.
You know, Trump is a convicted rapist. Trump's a convicted pedophile. He's a convicted sex offender. Nowhere has he ever been convicted of sexually assaulting anybody.
Nope.
And that is, people believe that. They legitimately believe that. They believe he is a pedophile. They believe all of these things. And it's that misinformation. The same thing, you know, you tell a lie enough times, it becomes the truth. And that's exactly how Grok works, which is why I caution people from using Grok. If there's enough information that's floating around to where it hasn't been community noted yet, Grok's designed to basically speak it as if it's the gospel.
Yep.
Even if you present Grok with other information and about 2 to 3, you know, revolutions of the conversation later, you know, 2 to 3 interactions back and forth, it will completely forget what you told it and default back to its pre-programmed settings. That's one of the reasons they do this as well, because you have people that don't know what the truth is. Just go look at any controversial post, look at any post whatsoever, and people will be putting out their Grok, is this true? And then, you know, Grok spits out a stupid answer and they go C, and then they get their confirmation bias and they move on with life. It doesn't matter if you show facts in black and white and say, stop listening to AI. That doesn't matter anymore.
Well, the thing is to know what AI, I don't care if you're talking about ChatGPT or Grok or any other AI out there. Like, there's certain things you can look up, like historical things, finding links to certain things. You know, it's helpful when you're looking for kind of, when you're not trying to get the opinion or an analysis on something. You know what I mean? If you're looking up historical facts or whatever it is, that's where it's helpful. But again, you got to be careful with all that stuff for sure.
So I gotta get this out because I got about 2 minutes to go before I get my hard stop. And it's, if you don't mind sharing the screen that I have up there, and I want to show, this is the original video. Yeah, as GBNT mentioned, or Chase mentioned, you know, the video we shared, was from CapCut. This is the original security footage, but the timeline and everything remains exactly the same. And I just want to play it through and show that it was enhanced. But the major movements, the guy being shot, everybody falling down, it's the exact same. All right, as it goes through. All it did was clarify the footage that you end up seeing on the screen. You can see he's got his firearm out and all of that stuff as it goes through. So none of that really changes. It's just a clarified video. We could run through this one if you'd like, but you can see him go, guns out, he aiming, shooting, all of that stuff. And you see the actual guy drop. You see him turn around, go back over, check on his buddy in the background. All of that's the same, falls down a second time. All of that stuff is exactly the same inside the video. It wasn't changed. It wasn't edited. It's just a much more clear video that ended up, you know, sharing for you guys. So,
well, this one looks like it was filmed on a freaking potato. I imagine
hotel security that gets shared on the internet.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
So, just want to throw that out there. That's
I know
clearly somebody's cell phone recording a screen.
I know you got to get off here pretty shortly. I'll stay and go through some super chats and all that good stuff. Any final words for everybody when it comes to all of this?
No, just that we need to do this more. Yeah, I think honestly, with the amount of stuff that's going on, and I'm going to, you know, make a promise and do better myself about making sure that I'm taking that information that people are putting out, like Sean's post, for example, and literally calling them out by name. Because until we start doing that, and until we start getting the community behind it, and we are allowing these people to get away with it. I'm not saying we're complicit in it because we talk about it, we put it out there, but I think we need to be very, very clear that these things are not okay, that you are actually tearing away at the fabric of this country by doing so. You are dividing the country by doing it. So it's very easy to get caught up in stuff. I get caught up in it all the time, but we need to be clear. And we need to start calling these people out. We need to start calling it for what it is. It's mis and disinformation, you know, engagement farming. That's what it is.
And it's very intentional, folks. Like, there's nothing wrong with holding your government accountable. There's nothing wrong with look, there's lots of things that are worthy of criticizing the Trump administration. I have a whole list of them. It's when they're just flat out lies that you got to, and I would do the exact same thing if it came to the Biden administration or whatever else. At the end of the day, this is my country. All right. I want to have the truth, and I want our viewers to have the truth so they can make an informed decision based on the truth, not on lies. That's what matters. And I don't care if it's the Charlie Kirk or whatever. And here's the thing too, like, this is a great point that Matt is kind of covering obliquely, if you will, but a lot of people were like, Gary, why are you worried about the Charlie Kirk assassination? Why are you worried about what Candace is doing? Because, folks, look what it's grown into. This is why you gotta cut this stuff off at the bud. Like, you gotta get at it right when it starts, so it doesn't metastasize into something else. And I saw it for the disinformation, propaganda, psychological operation that it was back in late October, early November, and I just thought it was important to come out and talk about this stuff. And now we see that it's grown into so much larger, so much bigger. It's went from just something that's kind of happening on YouTube somewhere to now it has geopolitical ramifications and has very real ramifications when it comes to the midterms and ultimately the presidential election in 2028. Like it matters a lot.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I agree. Let's whether we plan on doing this, every 2 weeks or something like that, let's get together and make it happen.
I love it, man. You let me know and I'll be there and vice versa. If I find something, I'm going to be hammering you.
Sounds good. Hit me up anytime. Be happy to.
One's better than none. Two's better than one.
Yep.
All right, brother.
All right,
take care.
We'll talk to you. All right, folks, we're going to go through some of the super chats and other comments that we haven't had a chance to cover. Bless you, bro. I was hoping we could chat about it. We're here for you, man. I wasn't planning on doing any sort of live stream today. Again, the internet was running wild with a bunch of nonsense. I thought it was important to get on here and do this. Thank you, Way Too Rough, for becoming a YouTube member. And again, folks, like, subscribe, all those things. We really appreciate that. The other big thing that you can do is share this content. Share this content. It's really important to get the message out of what we're doing. And look, this isn't as sexy as, Google Trends conspiracies and, camera guns and Israel controls the world. I know it's not as sexy, but it's the truth. And that's what's important. Matter of fact, it's the only thing that matters anymore. It really is. Also down the link in the description below, if you'd like to become a member, support the channel, we really appreciate that. If you're watching this on X, we offer subscriptions. I think Matt and Chase do as well. So you guys go follow them, support them as well. We need the support. Troy's review, member for 12 months. Only just heard about this. What's this? The fourth time someone has tried to take out Trump? What the heck is wrong with these people? 8 a.m. here in Oz. Yes, it is the fourth time, at least the fourth time. So it's the fourth assassination plot for sure. And doesn't it tell you something, folks? Like what other, have we had 4 assassination attempts on anybody else? That lets you know that there is a concerted effort between the left, China, Russia, Iran, the woke right, the deep state. Like all of these people are conspiring, all of these entities, the mainstream media, social media, they're all conspiring. They want Trump out of here. And there's a reason for it. Everybody that voted for Trump, nothing's changed with Trump. Everybody that wanted him back in office after 4 years of, Biden with insane gas prices, the withdrawal out of Iran, with January 6th, with weaponizing the DOJ, mass surveillance, all those problems are still problems, right? Everything that you voted Trump in for, and what the only difference is that the propaganda that pretty much failed during the first Trump administration and pretty much failed during the Biden administration, they've turned that just slightly. All right, they've reoriented it, changed it up a little bit, and now a lot of people out there are falling for this stuff. It's so silly. Just wake up and see what's going on. Sky God 25. Gifted 20 Speak the Truth membership, says for Matt. Thank you very much. He appreciates that. I guarantee it. I wish I had a manual transmission so I could teach my son. My dad once told me that if you could drive a manual transmission, you can drive anything on the road. That is true. That is true. Everybody needs to learn how to drive a manual transmission. Community notes, need to utilize them more. I agree with that. MTX, which I know you're a woman now. I remember from last time. I'll tell you, man. What's wild to me is how quickly the woke right and the left can get community notes in place. And I've posted about posts that clearly needed community notes that were just an outright lie. And it's really hard. And you get everybody fired up about it. But it seems like it seems to be a little bit easier to get community notes on one side than the other. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. There is a lot of the woke right and leftists on X too. It is reason for quotes equals searches only the exact phrase. Yes, that is the reason behind it. I understand that, but I'm not sure that it makes that big of a difference, to be honest with you. I am not mad, Matt. Just disappointed. A Sunday stream on the day of rest. We need a lot of devotionals this week. I didn't want to do. I have attempted to make sure that I'm not doing streams on Sunday, But sometimes you got to get out there and do things. People still use Google. I had it out. Assassin would be Googling someone's name. These people are so freaking exhausting. I agree. It's just so dumb. Air Jeff, I was not referring to Gary nor the guest, so ban me if you wish. Yeah, don't be banning anybody. Manifesto reads like a Reddit post. I agree with that. America First. Thank you, sir. 556. I like that. For Channing Tatum's birthday today, $5. I didn't know it was Channing Tatum's birthday today. Note, everyone who attended was complicit. She's talking about the manifesto, basically. The amount the left wants him dead tells me he's the biggest threat to their communist agenda. That's exactly right. And how much they want to get rid of the MAGA agenda. That's why this whole thing, all of this, is directed toward MAGA. I don't care if we're talking about Charlie Kirk and them trying to destroy TPUSA. It's not that they want to destroy TPUSA. What they want to destroy is MAGA. What they want to destroy is you. That's what this is about. They know how effective TPUSA was before Charlie Kirk was killed. They know how effective TPUSA is going to be in the midterms and in the 2020 election, general election. That's what it's all about, man. Thanks for giving us your time on Sunday, Gary and GBNT. And Matt. Don't forget Matt. The dude in the suit was complacent, and complacency gets you a dirt nap. Agreed. And it causes a lot of mistakes. And a lot of things can be explained by complacency. This is, look, they are specifically, just so I'll read this. J.D. DeLay was saying that Lebanon is mostly Christian, that the Israelis were bombing Christians. Not sure, but he might have been referencing Nate from Valhalla. Nate from Valhalla, JD DeLay, like, they are just so full of bad information, and they are specifically targeting terrorist cells. We covered this, I don't know, a week ago, something like that. First of all, let's just look up what is the Christian population of Lebanon, and they are not specifically targeting Christians in Lebanon. But I'm curious to see what it is, because there are a lot of Muslims in there. While that's looking up, I'll go through some. The most commonly cited source is Statistics Lebanon, a Beirut-based firm referenced by the U.S. State Department. 30.5. Here, I'll just share this tab so you guys can see it. All right, so this is what we have right here. 30.5 to 30.7, basically 30% of the population is Christian. Among the citizen population, Muslims make up 70% and Druze 5.5%, often grouped with Muslims in some stats. So just so we're clear, that's not true. 70% of Lebanon is essentially Muslim. And they're not targeting Christians. I can just tell you that for a fact. They're targeting terrorist cells. Thank you very much. Fendi something. Thank you, Gary. They never make the distinction between what administration was in charge when they say things like sweeping things like Epstein, Fed slop claims that all happen against Trump. This is exactly right. You just, it is. It's wild how people will just conflate government for government when we have an entire new administration in charge. We have an entire new cabinet. Like, all of these, I'm not saying shenanigans don't still take place. All right. I'm not naive, but what I'm saying is a lot of, just understand that just about every single conspiracy that these people point to, those were perpetrated under Democrats against Republicans, against specifically Trump. Like, wake up. Don't you see what's happening there? Do you think those people that had all the power to create these different conspiracies, to put Trump in jail, to keep him from getting elected again, to make sure that the vote was stolen, to make sure that you were forced with vaccinations, that they were closing down churches, keeping strip clubs and bars open, but closing down churches, you think those people just went away? No, they went out and got reorganized and now are making millions of dollars, coming up with great ideas to, again, perpetuate different conspiracies against Trump, to stop MAGA, to make sure that this country is completely taken over eventually by China, Russia, the globalist agenda. Like, and even say these things, it's like, start sounding like Alex Jones. But these things are very, very real, and we see it taking place. And it's very frustrating that so many Americans are duped by all this. Like I'm still a little bit in denial that so much of this taking place. And again, I hope that perception on social media is not reality. I hope there's not actually that many people out there IRL are that stupid, because there are so many stupid people pushing so many stupid conspiracies, and all of them damage Trump administration, the conservative right. Like, that's what this is about. What about the idiot Dan Bilzerian said he wanted to go on a live Israelis? Like, that guy, he should be called out. But I don't even think most people on his side take him seriously. I mean, they really don't. The Iraq 2.0 forever war argument from the vet bros is so, can't even call it 2.0 anymore. We're on like 6.0 conflict that was supposed to be 2.0. I agree. There's no comparison between Iran and Iraq. Like, everything that we were sold on going to convince us to go to war with Iraq is actually true with Iran. Like, they do have weapons of mass destruction. We know that they have a nuclear program. We know that they're conducting terrorism all around the world. They are absolutely funding, promoting, helping Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Quds Force, you name it. Like, we know that this is taking place. We know that they're responsible for killing thousands of Americans in Iraq during GWAT. Defense of Catholicism. Almost everyone I know believes the war does meet the just war theory. Candy does not speak the Catholic doctrine. You were very right on that. Cindy gifted 1 Paramount Tactical membership. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Gary, Matt, what are your thoughts on totally leaving Afghanistan? Should we have kept a base at a minimum? At a minimum, we should have definitely withdrawn all of our equipment. At a minimum, I think we should have probably kept Bagram Airfield. We should have kept some sort of footprint over there. We had just too much blood and treasure lost to just give it up completely. I think we could have. There's 1,000 different things that we could have done, all of them better than what we did. So I don't know what all that looks like. I have to really sit down and look at the strategic impacts of us keeping troops there. But all I know for sure is what we did was absolutely idiotic. There was no reason that we should have lost the men and women that we did when we pulled out of there. There's no reason that we should have did it the way that we did. There's definitely no reason we should have left billions of dollars worth of arms, equipment, night vision, everything from aircraft to Humvees to armored vehicles. I mean, what we did there, and just leaving a completely outfitted army that hates us is about as dumb as it gets. It's one of the biggest blunders in the United States history, for sure. This is exactly why Trump wants the ballroom. Well, definitely is a good argument for it, for sure. If America abandoned Israel, China, and Russia would do everything in their power to court Israel. China isn't pro-Islam, nor is Russia. It's about power. This is partly true, right? So if we did just sudden like, oh, yeah, we hate Israel, we're cutting off diplomatic and military ties with Israel, you were absolutely right. The next thing you know, China or Russia would have air bases, equipment, a relationship with them. Like, Israel is extremely strategic, folks. Forget about what you think. Like, our interests are going to diverge. I don't care what country that we're working with, if it's France, England, Canada, Mexico. Like, we are going to have good relationships, and then our interests will diverge in spots. It's just going to happen. And it's what happens with Israel. Not everything that Israel does, I agree with. There's nothing wrong with criticizing Israel. It's when Israel controls everything, that's your narrative, it becomes really stupid. And the other thing I've said in the past, there's nothing wrong with, criticizing the Israeli government. And I did a post the other day talking about something about Candace and how, it's always it's the Jews. This is the thing. And somebody replied, no, she's just criticizing Israel. No, she's not. She's constantly criticizing Zionists. Like, what's the difference between Jews and Zionists? Because Zionist isn't just the Israeli government. Now you're talking about anybody, including Jews, Christians, or anybody else in between, that believes that Israel has the right to exist. So if Zionists are evil, which is the statement that I've heard a lot around social media, it is the Jews. It is anyone that supports the Jews. It's worse than saying the Jews, because now if you're a Christian, you're like, you know what? I don't always agree with Israel, but I support their right to exist. Well, now you're part of the problem. You're evil. Get out of here. Like, quit. Just say it's the Jews. Quit pretending that this is isolated to the Israeli government. It's not. I mean, just be honest. Say what you believe. Quit trying to obfuscate it. You must first remove one's culture, religious, and national identity to install socialist and communist ideology. Karl Marx. Sounds familiar to anybody? I.e., what we're doing in our country right now. It's the same division that they have used, the same tactics they have used every single time to install to create a communist revolution, whether it was China, whether it was Russia. It's the same things every single time. Thank you for working on Sunday. Very informative. You're welcome. The Pope is being political and did not issue an ex cathedra statement. I was just talking to Bree Dale the other day. If you don't know who Bree Dale is, I've had her on several times. She actually lived at the Vatican. She's a hardcore Catholic. And I wanted her thoughts on some of the Pope's recent comments. And I was surprised to hear what she had to say. We're going to have her on again. And I think you'll find some of her assessments of what the Pope is saying to be interesting, to say the least. I'm sick of people trying to take out our president. I am too. As a 22-year veteran from the IDF, you guys are great. Glad I found you. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you, buddy. BRICS must be stopped. Thank you, President Trump, for doing everything you can to see to it. Will Iran be able to activate terror cells in the U.S. when it realizes time is up? Look, I don't know what they have here. And the problem is nobody knows what they have here, because we had 10 to 20 to 30 million people come in completely unvetted during the Biden administration. I mean, think about that, folks. If we lose the midterms, if we lose the midterms, we're losing 2028. You can guarantee it. They're going to have 2 years of the Democrats being in power and all of the woke right and all of the left talking nonstop about how the Trump administration isn't getting anything done because, Democrats control the House and the Senate. And they're going to be essentially right. We're going to have a lame duck president that's not going to get anything done. Come 2028, the borders are back open. We are going to stop oil production here in this country. We're going to be more dependent on every other nation on earth. And the amount of corruption that they're going to shove into place, even if they're only controlling everything for 4 years or even 2 years, folks, we're not going to be able to undo it. I'm not sure that we're at a point to where it can be undone. Like the demise of the United States, I don't know if it can be undone. It can be slowed for sure. And hopefully, if we continue to have the MAGA agenda in place for, I don't know, another 12 years at least, maybe we can undo this thing and right the ship, right? Pull the country out of the nosedive that it's in. We get another, and by the way, the other thing that's going to happen under a Democrat-controlled House and Senate, and definitely the executive branch, if that takes place, folks, they will remove the filibuster. They will pack the courts. They will put more and more activist judges in place at the federal and local level. We will never win another election. We'll never win another election. And then when they pass insane laws, they're going to be held as constitutional by a Supreme Court that's packed. That's going to happen. It will be the guaranteed demise of this country. It's what they want. Gun rights are going to be rolled back. They're not going to require any ID. Look, I'm pissed off at the Republicans right now because we can't get the SAVE Act passed. But you think it's bad now? Wait until it can get worse. It can get a whole lot worse. We got it pretty good under the Trump administration. I get it if you're not happy about this war, and I understand that. I think you're wrong. I think it's probably the most just war we've ever fought since World War II. And I think we should follow this through and make sure that we remove the IRGC, because if not, I think we are going to be in a prolonged war 15 years from now, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So our kids going to be fighting a nuclear armed Iran. That's what's going to happen. The IRGC isn't going away unless we take them out of place and then put something else in their place. Hopefully a much more rational, friendly government to the United States. And if we can do that, there's strategic value. Not only the strategic value that we have in place to make sure that we can push back against China and Russia, but the other thing that we have going on there is I think I forgot what I was saying there. What was I saying? What was I saying, folks? I don't remember. Regardless, the point is like we have got to make sure that this doesn't take place. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Like most people would agree that the Middle East is in chaos all the time. 90% of that is because of Iran. Folks, we'd have so much more peace if Hezbollah didn't exist, the Houthis didn't exist, the Quds Force didn't exist, Hamas didn't exist. All right, all of that is directly tied to Iran. And IRGC itself has been declared a terrorist organization. Like, how can we allow that to stand? Hi, Gary. I'm late, but Vol VST has already said it's staged. So disappointing. I really hope he'll stop talking because he somehow doesn't understand how rapidly tactical situations happen. How dare you misgender me, you bigot? I'm sorry, MTX. How about you have a female name up there, and then I won't think that MTX 485 is a dude. Put up Sally or something. Flowers. Latest conspiratorial narrative is Miller using pregnant wife as a shield. Point out the security service agent with them would have also the Secret Service agent with them would also have been using her as a shield if they won't admit implicating the agent. They're cowards. No, he was. That's so dumb. So dumb. Just like Pete Hegseth, he got behind his wife. The fire was coming from the rear of the room. All right. These men were using their own bodies as human shields to protect people that they love and they care about. He was behind her, pushing her out, holding her in place, trying to keep her upright. She's pregnant. I don't even know how people, I didn't realize that was being framed that way. That's beyond silly. Unfortunately, I don't think the normal people was stupid until I left the military, especially when I was a police officer. The average person is pretty dumb, and it's great to see you educating the public. Well, thank you. And I agree. It's really disappointing to see how dumb Americans have gotten. And it's because, and this is by design, folks. This is by design. When they can, first, their intention was, to create this moral relativism, and that's turned into literally a reality relativism. We have nothing objective. Everything is subjective. It's okay for me to see the world the way that I want to see it. That's what's going on here. We've taken away logic. We've taken away 2 + 2 = 4. It can be whatever you want it to be. Like when we have undermined reality in the way that we have in this country, it opens people's minds to accept anything. There is no logical framework for deciding what's real and what's not anymore. So feels and vibes are more important than facts and evidence. That's where we're at in this country. Gary, have you seen the movie The Last 600 Meters? It's about Iraq and Fallujah. Was shelled for 17 years. I was at the premiere. It's a great movie. I haven't seen that. I haven't even heard of it. I have to check it out. You know what is interesting? For the first time, I never watched Jack Ryan, and me and my wife started watching it, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And what's funny now is we're on season 2, and season 2 is all about Venezuela. And of course, this happened, I don't know when season 2 came out, but it was several years before we took out Maduro. But it's crazy because they're talking about how strategic and how important Venezuela is when it comes to resources, oil, minerals, and everything else. And, they're going to this conflict, and go watch the show. But it was ironic to see all this play out in a movie, in a show. And then, with the retrospect of actually, we went in there, killed all of Maduro's men and just kidnapped them in the middle of the night. So anyways, I think the only thing that can save U.S. is for Trump to eventually declare martial law. That's a little over the top, Sam. I don't want him declaring martial law. I'll be against that. Common sense isn't common anymore. Couldn't agree more. It's definitely not common. Folks, again, make sure that you like, subscribe, share this if you want to help the channel out. That's what helps us out. That's what helps get our message out. If everybody that's watching this shared this, we would grow exponentially and be able to fight against these retards that are out there just conning people left and right. The Google Trend stuff, the different conspiracies that they're pushing that are so wildly popular, that are just warping people's minds into believing total trash garbage that have real national implications when it comes to how they view the world politically, how they've used the Charlie Kirk assassination to eventually trick people into thinking that Israel's the problem. And then that leads into Israel's control in Trump and all the other stuff that goes with it. Whether it's, I saw a comment earlier talking about Tucker. He's a problem. He's part of this. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Joe Kent, Valhalla VFT, and so many other people. They're pushing nothing but anti-American propaganda. And we got to start. This is the war front, folks. This is the war front. Just like Chase was saying earlier, we're in 5th generational war. What is happening here on social media has as big or bigger implications on any battlefield or any battle space on the planet right now. And we've got to start pushing back. We've got to be aggressive about this. You need to defend the truth like you would defend your family and defend your home. That's how I feel about this. And that's why I'm up here on Sunday and doing all the things that I'm doing. Not because it's lucrative. I promise you that. It is definitely not. Jen hasn't been on stage today. Jen, if you're around, are you there?
Hey,
What's
I'm
happening?
here.
What'd I miss? What didn't we cover?
Well, there's been a lot of clips going around of Democrats over the last 8 years calling for violence against Trump. So next time we go over this stuff, I'd love to play that for you.
Yeah.
And then you guys were talking about, I think it was you that was talking about how people are making accusations against President Trump. And there is a senator out of California, I think it's Senator Lieu.
Ted Lieu?
Ted Lieu was literally saying that, there was all this proof and evidence in the Epstein files. And I think he is over or around Cole's area where he was from. So it's just, again, you're seeing all of these Democrats and right-wing black pillars saying all of this stuff and making these accusations, and they don't realize that it's actually inspiring or inciting people to do this crazy stuff. Or maybe they do know it and they do it anyway.
No, they do.
It's crazy.
They absolutely do. They know exactly what they're doing. I would love for Ted Lieu to present any evidence out of the Epstein files that is actionable, that is true, that could be, enough for probable cause or even to open up an investigation into Trump or anybody else. Like, bring that information forward. I'd love to see it. I'm fine with it. If Trump is guilty of any of these things and we can find that information in the Epstein files, I've gone through the Epstein files. I've covered a lot of people and followed a lot of people that have been going through the Epstein files. They love to use that as a psyop. They love to use that like, oh, Trump's guilty of X, Y, and Z, and he's in the Epstein files. But then they never actually present any of the information that's in the Epstein files as proof of any of this because it doesn't exist. There's not actionable information in the Epstein files. It has turned into a political tool that's been weaponized and nothing more. There's no substance to it. Please, somebody I would love to see a bunch of politicians. I'm okay with Trump going to jail. I think he's the last hope for America, and I would hate to see that. At the same time, I'm not going to defend him if he is actually a pedophile. But the fact is they got nothing. And if they did have something, we'd see it all over social media. We'd see it on NBC, CBS, and every other social media personality out there that hates Trump, which is most of them, and every single senator out there that is on the Democrat side and every political activist would have that plastered up, and we'd see it 24/7 nonstop. Trump is guilty of X, Y, and Z. We know it from the Epstein files, but they can't. All they say is the Epstein files. And like, oh, yeah, Trump's guilty of stuff in there. I don't know what it is, but he's guilty of it. We see that nonstop. And I'm sick of it. If you're so worried about the Epstein files, give us some proof. Do some research. Pull it out. Let's see it. I like this comment. I think this is off of either Matt's page or somebody else. Doesn't really matter. But Sorry, man. Disagree completely regarding Tucker. He's calling out the issues with us going to war for Israel more so than for America. Candace is batshit. LOL. She's gone. Number one, I'm glad you disagree, and that's fine. And I'm glad you're able to come on here. And I love when people disagree and keep things civil. And I love this discussion. I disagree with you. I think that it's crazy to me to watch, as someone that I literally watched Tucker Carlson podcast every single day. I saw him change. And the last straw for me was when he actually spoke at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, where he was talking about, like, I don't know, well, maybe some guys in the back room eating hummus decided that Charlie Kirk had to die. And we all I was like, wow, that's a little wild. Then 2 days later, he was on all the airwaves claiming, oh, what do you mean? I wasn't talking about the Jews. I love the Jews. I love the Jews. Oh, at least be honest, Tucker. If you're clearly talking about the Jews and you're implicating or implying that the Jews had something to do or Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder, just say that. Just say that. Just have the balls to say it. And then he went on to defend Muslims in different ways and criticize Trump for making fun of Muslims. None of that makes sense to me. Especially, Tucker Carlson used to make fun of Muslims and used to talk about that. There's clips of him literally saying, if we had a president, this is like going back to the mid 2000s. If we had a president that was making fun of Muslims, and I'm kind of, this isn't a direct quote, but he was like, hey, if someone that's making fun of the Muslims, I would vote for them. Speak their mind. He's bigoted against the Muslims. Great, I'll vote for that. And now he's changed 180 degrees and wants to pretend that Sharia law doesn't exist. That the idea that is Islam is a homicidal, totalitarian theology that wants to completely take over the United States, completely take over Europe, completely force everyone to either become a Muslim or die. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So let's pretend that it's not evil. And maybe I would believe some of the things that he says as being sincere if he didn't include all that other stuff. I think he's still wrong strategically, politically, and everything else when it comes to his thoughts on the war with Iran. We've got to get over this. Look, if you're going to have peace through strength, all right, there's the strength part of there that you just can't. When we have a state that is saying death to America and is now pushing toward a nuclear weapon and has 60% enriched uranium that can be actually enriched up to 90% within 10 days or so, and it's good for 11 nuclear bombs. And by the way, they also were telling us that their ballistic missile program only went 2,500 kilometers. Well, guess what, folks? We now know it does 4,500 kilometers. So the fact that they can threaten all of Europe pretty much with a ballistic missile and or ultimately a nuclear weapon is pretty insane. We can't allow them to exist. But I appreciate you, Josh. Thank you for keeping it civil, and I love the disagreement. So I think we need more of that for sure. Make sure we got no more. Mr. Riojas became a new member. Thank you, Mr. Riojas. We appreciate you, buddy. The Last 600 is a documentary with live footage. I had the honor of meeting 7 of the military men in it at the premiere. Thank you for your service, Gary. Thank you, Coach Kimberly. Keep deadlifting, girl. Keep it up. Howard Faust, thank you. We appreciate you. Well, listen, folks, we appreciate everybody that's tuned in today. Appreciate your time. Hopefully we brought you a little bit of clarity on what's going on out there. Again, share this information with your friends. Share this content. Make sure if you're not following Matt and Greenberry Nap Time Chase, make sure you guys do that. We got some great shows coming up. Tomorrow night, we actually have Craig Salman Sawyer, right, Jen?
Yep.
We got Craig
coming on to talk about the cartel and human trafficking.
Yep.
And then on Tuesday, we have EJ Snyder coming on to talk about what to do if you have to bug in or bug out.
Love it. And then on Wednesday, we got Tim Harmsman, most likely. We're trying to confirm this, tighten this up. Tim Harmsman from the Military Arms Channel, guy that I really like and admire and respect. We're going to have him to talk about the world in general. Maybe we'll get into some ballistics. He's actually actually a ballistics expert, unlike a lot of the clowns out there claiming to be a ballistics expert. Anyways, we got a lot coming up. We're going to continue bringing the truth. That's what we're here to do. I appreciate every single person out there. Thank you for bringing great Americans. I want you to have a wonderful week. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you.